Hello everyone and welcome to the March edition of Brew with Bee-lieve. Now this month we've decided to do something slightly different. For a start, you're going to have to put up with me sitting in the host's chair rather than the super talented Ali DeMario. But to make up for that, we have a very special guest to entertain and inform us. I'm joined today by Barry Jones, the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world. And Barry's going to be talking to us about his life, his career, and his thoughts and opinions on mental health and well-being. Now retired, Barry currently works as a highly regarded and much respected pundit for Box Nation, ESPN and BT Sport. And you'll often see him on the TV ahead of world title bouts, analysing fighters' styles, their strengths and their weaknesses. He's also been a supporter of Bee-lieve Foundation since the very start, which makes him a fabulous and very welcome guest today. Now, I've known Barry for several years as we play in the same football team, and it's fair to say he is one of the real characters of the dressing room. So I'm sure you're going to really enjoy listening to what he has to say to us today. So grab a brew, settle into your favourite comfy chair as I have a little chat with Barry Jones. Hi Barry, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, Steve. Nice to see you, mate. Yeah, looking forward to catching up.
Yeah, it seems a long time. Actually, it seems an age since we were on a football pitch together. I'm not actually sure I could remember how to kick a ball now.
Well, luckily, I couldn't kick a ball in the first place, so I won't miss out on that. But yeah, the running around like a headless chicken is what I'm good at, and yeah, I've missed that as it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, really I think you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice. So, what have you been up to over the last 12 months or so?
Like everyone else, really, hoping and waiting for this terrible thing to pass over us and get back to work. So yeah, work's been quiet, but I've been doing little bits of work, and it's picking up again now with the boxing commentary and stuff. But yeah, that's it really. I'm trying to keep I got young kids as well and stuff, so they're keeping me busy. And yeah, so listen, we're adaptable creatures as human race, and I'm really are. So as hard as things get, you get used to things and you adapt and you try and find joy in everything.
Yeah, because I'm interested in that, because people often say when times are tough, I can't stay positive. How do you stay positive in a period like we've just had?
Well, it's difficult, and it depends who you're with and who you are. We're all built differently, of course, and so we all have our own problems. Some people cope with them better than others. Some people can brush things off, and like for me, for instance, big problems I'm okay with. Little problems drive me crazy. So if I can't shut a cupboard door, I want to take the cupboard door off and throw it through the window. But no, I don't do that. Of course, that's how I feel. The little things bother me. Big crisis, and I seem to hold it together. And I don't know why that is. So, something like this, which is a real issue and problem for people, it's been something that I've been able to adapt to. Not quite well. It's been difficult, but I've coped, and you take joy around people. If you've got a family around, you take joy with your family, and you can find things to do to keep you busy. That I think being busy is very, very important. Yeah. Anyway, regardless of a pandemic or whatever, being busy really stimulates your mind, and if your mind's stimulated, you feel better in yourself.
Yeah, agreed. Look, I'm really pleased and very grateful you've given up your precious time to talk to us about your life and your career, because there are so many things in your story that link directly to the work we do at Bee-lieve Foundation. Setting goals, dealing with challenges, coming back from being knocked over. Although actually, ironically, you weren't knocked over much in your career. I don't believe. We'll talk about that later. So your story is one of sort of hard work, dedication, and reaching the top of your chosen goal, but also some real setbacks. So let's go right back and start at the beginning. You were born in Cardiff. What was life like for you as a child? What were you into? What were you interested in?
Mischief. I grew up in a big council estate in Cardiff called Ely. It's huge. It was the biggest one in Europe when it was built. There was lots of things to do, to be honest. The thing about Cardiff, it's not a big city, but it's a city. and it's quite a multicultural city, but you're also only half a mile, a quarter mile from the countryside, so it's great. So literally, you're in concrete city, playing on the streets all the time, and then you go for a 20-minute walk, and you're in the woods, swinging off trees and stuff. So we had no money and things were tough, but when you're a kid, you don't really see it that way. So it was fun, and I learned a lot of things, and and obviously the sport that I chose was a popular sport because being tough or being able to defend yourself in that sort of environment was quite important. As a kid, it probably wasn't. You felt it was quite important. Actually, when you look back now, it didn't really matter at all, but it felt quite important. And sports for any youngster, especially from a working class or below background, is a big part of your life. And luckily, I was a hyperactive. I say I got the mischief. I wasn't a troublesome kid. I wasn't a thief or anything like that, and I didn't get. But I was so hyperactive. Well, you know me, Steve. You see what I'm like. I can't keep still. I'm not far off 50, and I'm running around the football pitch like an idiot. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm full of energy, and that's who I am. So, and I was, as a child, that was magnified. So I needed an outlet, and sports did that for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned the outdoors and green spaces and woods. I mean, how important do you think that is to mental health?
Yeah, you get used to you take things for granted, of course. But when I look back now, then I lived in London for a while. I live just outside London now, but I lived in London for a while in Hammersmith, and people would flock around a little park, like a tiny little park, and I think, what's the matter with them? But they didn't, they just don't see it, do they? They have nothing. They have no space of their own. So you look back, you think, wow, we had so much space, to go, and fields and football pitches and rugby pitches, rugby pitches everywhere, and you could go off the woods, and literally, as long as you were back before dark, nobody cared. It was fantastic. So you take it for granted, but looking back in retrospect now, it was so important, because that fresh air is great, and just adventures you could have as a young child with your friends. It was just, it was magical. I make it out I'm sort of like some sort of Peter Pan here, but it's when you look back now, you realize how much important it was, to keep you active, and being in the fresh air and being outdoors is hugely important for your well-being.
Yeah. So I guess being full of energy and hyperactive, as you described it, boxing was a good outlet for you. At what age did you start boxing?
I first went to a boxing gym at 9 years of age. Now, you couldn't fight. I think it's 12 now. You can fight. Back then, you could fight at 10. You could have 4 fights when you were 10 years of age, and then you could have like as many as you wanted after that. But that was the first year. It was only 10 fights at that age. So I started at 10, and like I got an older brother, Stephen, who was pretty much better than me at everything, but not as committed. But so I followed him. He went to the local rugby club. I went to the rugby club. He went to the football club, and same with the boxing gym. He went down to the boxing gym, and I went there, and I wasn't a lover of it initially, but I like doing sports. I love team sports, and I love the being involved in something. I mean, and I'm playing a part, being a cog, if you like, and I'm good at that. But the thing I loved about boxing is you're constantly involved all the time. So I could never play cricket because I couldn't stand outside waiting for things to happen. So boxing and basketball are my favorite sports. I know I'm too short to be a basketball player, obviously, but I mean, they're my two favorite sports because you're always, even if whether you got the ball or whether you're throwing punches or not, you're always involved. And that's what endeared me to those two sports. And obviously boxing, I found I was better than that and physically more suited to it because I'm very, very short. And that was what I just loved it. You're always punching the bags. It's always busy. And I didn't love the getting punched in the face or the fight, or even punching people. I wasn't the level of that originally, but the exercises really got me. It was physically hard. I mean, it was really hard. So every training session, I would just be spent, absolutely exhausted. But that draining you, it's almost like exercise to a level where you can't do it anymore. When you really have a really hard training session, it sort of purges you mentally and physically. It almost like empties you out of everything, every stress, and every ache, and then it fills you back up again, and you feel. And initially after it, you're just done. I could never do that again. Oh, I'm not doing that again. Then the next day or the day after, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was just great. That was brilliant. And then you want, and so it was so important for me, being a hyperactive kid, to have that empty in my tank, mentally, physically, just getting all out of me, filling up again and feeling better for it and going back stronger and doing more work. And it was always, for me, I was quite lucky. I always had that, want to do more, not get better, just wanted to do more work. So if I did 5 press-ups, I want to do 6 press-ups. I always had that competition with myself, not with nobody else. And so but not to be a better boxer, just to get fitter. I wanted to be fitter than the guy next to me, not better. I wanted to be fitter. That's all I wanted to be. And then from that, then I started to get a bit of, you got your natural ability, of course, but I started to get a bit better with the technical side. And and I took off from there, and I just fell in love with it. And you're lucky. You're lucky that I found something that I loved. Just pure luck. I got to be honest. I could have been playing rugby. My brother never went to the boxing gym. I never go to the boxing gym, and I'm playing rugby, and I wouldn't have been any good, nowhere near as good as I was at boxing. I would have loved it, of course, but I wouldn't have been as successful. So I was very fortunate.
Yeah, I think there's a message there for young people, though, Barry, that sometimes opportunities come along, and if you don't try it, you never know. And I think the other thing from your story is that your work rate was always very, very high. And I think there's a message there for young people that if you want to be successful in anything, then work hard.
I obviously had talent, and there's some things I physically, I got fast hands and fast feet. So, and I had a good boxing brain. I know lots of things I had, but I wasn't the best physically ever in my gym. I was the most successful boxer in my boxing gym as an amateur. Obviously as a pro, because I won a world title, but as an amateur, I was the most successful in the end in the history of that club. But I wasn't the best, even in my age. My brother was better than me. Clayton Smith, they were British champions at schoolboy. They were so talented. But the problem they had, they were so talented that it almost came too easy for them. So it's almost better. It sounds like a contradiction. It's almost better you're not that good, because you have to work harder for it. And then you appreciate when you do get better, you see the improvement and you appreciate that. And it's more fulfilling, because you go, whoa, I've gone from there to there. And now I'm there, and you know it, where some kids are so good at stuff that they're there already.
Yeah.
And you don't have to try. My brother was so talented that all he did was train to make the weight. So ultimately, at a certain level and a certain age, he was getting beat by people who shouldn't have beat him. Where I only really got beat where amateur boxing, you get some bad decisions, but really, when everything was on an even keel, I only got beat by people who were better than me. That's why I have no regrets about. You have little regrets. Nothing's a perfect career or a perfect life, but I have no regrets over the losses, because in my heart of hearts, I probably think that they were probably better than me or just as good. So some of them you could have won, but I couldn't have argued that I beat by someone who wasn't good enough to beat me, because I was always ready. I was always as fit as I could be for that particular time, because I trained hard, and I think that constant trying to improve yourself and just going for it. I think what's the worst that can happen? You lose, but you lose. I'm more proud of my I had 1 defeat as a professional. I won't go too far ahead. I had 1 defeat as a professional, and I'm more proud of that moment than I am of winning all my wins. All my wins. They made me more successful and gave me more opportunities to win, but that loss defined me more as a person. I'm more proud of that moment than anything. And that sounds weird, but it's true, because I give it all, tried my best.
Yeah. And we'll touch on that later, that one time that you actually came out on the wrong side of a boxing decision. You mentioned, I think there's some really good points you brought up there, particularly this issue of not being the best. It doesn't stop you going on to be the best, even though you're not the most talented. I know Gary Neville talks a lot about it when he started at United, that he looked at the other lads around him and just thought, I'm nowhere near as good as them. I'm going to have to work 10 times harder. And that's what he did, and he ended up being, probably arguably one of the best right backs United have ever had in England. So you can, young people can do it.
Of course you can, and just because you're not as good now, don't mean you won't be good later. But you might not be good ever. It don't matter about I used to go into schools doing a thing called self-esteem through sport. It was mainly boxing training, and the one school I went to in Staines, we had, and everyone wanted to be better than everyone else. I understand that. It's competitive nature. It's not a bad thing. But we were a group. And so I'm trying to tell them, you're only as good as your worst person or the least physically gifted. And that doesn't mean that you have to bully him or try and get rid of him. I mean, if you can make him better without shouting at him, so no one ever raised their voice, no one criticizes anyone. If you can't bring him out, it's okay. We go for a run, we go for a mile run, and you're miles ahead. That's no good. I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed that you've come back and you run with the slowest one and helped him get to the end. That's all that matters to me. I don't care how fast you are. That's just because you're fast. You're naturally gifted. It's about how you can help someone else, and that was important to me. So like, I think, and then that helps that person, and they become better. And they might not be able to be as good as you, but that's irrelevant. Like I want as good as my brother. I can name 5-10 people in my boxing gym as an amateur that I want, just in my gym. Forget about the country and the world. Just in my gym alone, that I wasn't physically as gifted as in certain areas, and some of them in all areas. But I won everything. As an amateur, I was European silver medalist. At 17, I've become a world champion, and perseverance is everything. And that's mental. That's not physical. That's mental. I couldn't punch to save my life. My record, just go on BoxRec and check my record. I had no power. I obviously had power to an extent, but not real power. So how could I get to the top without being able to knock people out? Because I learned to adapt, and I was mentally strong. That it didn't matter, because you hit me once, I hit you twice. You hit me twice, I hit you 3 times. You got to try and hit me, because I'm going to make it hard for you, and you might be able to hit hard, but I can hit fast. So I was mentally so strong that I believe in yourself, and also it didn't matter. I'm never afraid to lose. I cried every time I lost. Didn't want to lose, but I was never afraid to lose. The fear of failure is worse than failure itself. That's the truth. The fear of it stops you from doing stuff, experiencing stuff that you never would.
Yeah, great points. Great point. It's that thing about true success: 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. It's about that work ethic, isn't it? Yeah. And of course, you had 115, I think 115 amateur fights before you turned professional.
Yeah, I think 160. I think, and I lost about 15. Yeah, so that's a lot. It seems like a lot of losses, but in the amateur game, that's quite a pretty good career. And so I only really lost, except for a couple of early losses, I only really lost in sort of championship level. So and that's fine, but yeah. So
You've talked about your mental approach and not being frightened to lose. When you made the switch to pro, did you ever doubt your ability to make it in the pro game? Were there any doubts there?
All the time, and I'm not ashamed of that. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think, of course there's doubt. So I think when you put yourself out there, when you take a risk, when you take a gamble, when you take a step when you take a movement to the next step forward, there's always going to be a doubt, and that's fine. You don't let that doubt and fear consume you enough to not make that step. That's the thing. You've got to do it. Again, I keep saying about the failure thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. What's the worst that can happen? This pandemic now shows something. What happens? You can't get a job. You lose your house. It's horrible. It's frightening. You're worried sick about it. You go and live with your mum, with your grandmother, with your cousin. Your brother puts you up. You rent a smaller place, and then you try and get back to it. It's all horrible. They're horrible things. But what I mean is, no, it's not. Your life's not finished. You can build back again, and I say that with sports is very important. It's about setbacks are only setbacks if you make them setbacks. You lose them, you get back and go back again, and you train harder. So that move into a professional game I was 18 when I turned pro, but I didn't think about it. I just went, I'm going to go, and it was too early, and I should turn pro later. But that didn't matter. I decided then. I made a choice, and I stuck with that choice, and I commit, and I believed in myself. That's the thing. All the doubts I had, I keep telling myself, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself. And I didn't think I was going to be a world champion. So I didn't set that goal that high. That's an unattainable achievement, really, for someone that's so young to say, I'm going to be a world champion. It's great to say it, but to actually believe it straight away, and for some people, that's a realistic goal, but for most people it's not. And if you make that your sole goal, then the chances are you're going to be disappointed. It's about making small goals.
Yeah.
Obtainable
Achievable goals and moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's easy. We all say this now because we know what to say, but it's true. It's true. You know, first just win it was pretty much, if I keep winning, I didn't have a crowd pleasing style. I was a dancer and a mover. I was a pretty boy, not facially, obviously, but I mean, my style was so, but it wasn't great to watch for TV. So, you know, you had a hard sell, but it didn't matter. I knew if I kept winning, then I'd just beat everyone in for the next fight, win the next fight, win the next fight. Don't worry about 2 years down the line when I might be ready for a world title, British title. Just keep winning, and in the end, you will get your chance. You have to believe that. Doesn't always happen for people, but you have to believe that and keep going and keep winning and just improve yourself and just really control your own or what's around you. What you can control, try and control that. You can't worry about things that are out of your realm of controls, because that will drive you mad and insane, and you'll go just berserk about, if that happens there and this happens here. You can't worry about that. Just improve yourself. I'm talking about sports now, but I think it probably fits in with most things in life. Just improve yourself and worry about, you can get better or more prepared. Not every better, just more prepared. And then when your time comes, if it comes, you're ready. And and I think that's how I approached it. So I was never not fit. That was the main thing for me. I was always fit.
Yeah, look, there's some brilliant advice in there, because young people will often say they deal with a lot of stresses and strains and they worry about things. Your ability to sort of put all those negative thoughts at the back of your mind and move forward, do you think that is just naturally in you, or as part of your boxing training, was it did you learn to adapt and become more resilient mentally?
I think, because especially amateur boxing, with there's you learn to deal with sport. In sports, inevitably, no one stays undefeated. Almost nobody. Well, even nobody. Joe Kazagi was undefeated as a pro, but not as an amateur. So at some point, you have to lose. So it helps you in life a little bit, because you learn to deal with the setback. Because I lost 16 fights, amateur and professional, all in all, and I cried every time. I did, and almost straight after, I go straight into the changing room, and I'd stand there or crouch in the corner, and I wouldn't cry, like I'd sob a little bit, and I'd teary-eyed, because it meant so much to me. But then I would put it to bed and I'd move on, because as an amateur, you got 2 weeks time in another international tournament or a championship or something else. You have something else going on. You have to move on quickly, and life is like that also. You have to take in setbacks. You have to take them in. You can't just ignore them and push them away. That's no good for you. You have to take it and accept it, but then forget about it. No, you can't. You say you have to learn from it and all that, but I don't know whether that's always the case. You have to learn from it, but you certainly can't just make out it never happened, because it did happen. Because by denying a setback or a failure means you're never going to learn from it. You're never going to know about maybe a mistake you might have made, as big or small, because a lot of the time we don't make mistakes. So you think you don't make a mistake, but you made just a little mistake in boxing, so and in life also. You just went the wrong path, or you did a stupid thing, or you didn't get home at that time when you're a kid, when you should have gone home, and so you're out a little bit later, and then some other gang kid turned up, and then you've had a fight. But if you would have went home when you should have went home, or you would have been in the place where you should have been, then that wouldn't have happened. Even though that fight or whatever that happened is not your fault, you were there when you shouldn't have been there. So, and it's just a little mistake, so you don't take blame for that. But you have to say, if you take a blame for it, next time I shouldn't be here. And I learned that. So, like, my friends were a rowdy bunch. They loved me, and they never got me involved in all the things that they did as we become teens and adults, and all the stuff that they did. They did their own thing. We were friends. I was lucky that they didn't try and drag me in. They knew what I was about. And Barry, we're friends, but when we do this is our business. You mind your own business. And I was lucky they were like that. But also I was going, I know who I am. But I would know when to go and when to stay. So I'd be in a party in someone's house, and I would know I got to go in a minute.
Yeah.
So I would just go. Once you do it the one time, go. It's easy. So I've done it as an adult. You never see me in a pub, in a club. You know, when I was in my 20s and stuff, I would just disappear. Where's Barry gone? Because the worst thing to do is stay at the end of it. For every kid out there watching, you ever go to a party or when you're older, go to a pub or a nightclub, you leave before the party finishes. Guaranteed. That's the best bit of advice in life. Always leave before anything finishes, because that's where all the trouble starts. But it's about making the right choices, in your heart where you should be, where you shouldn't be. And same with boxing. You don't always run in the morning. Then so it's like, the 6 weeks before the fight, you don't run. Doesn't matter. But then you won't run again the next week. And then that becomes your day you don't run. And then come fight time, you've missed out on almost a week's worth of running. And then the night before the fight, you realised, when all those doubts come in, all that nervous, which they do, you realised, am I 100% prepared? I fit. But I'm 100%. Am I the best I could be? And it's the same with how you deal with things and how you deal with setbacks. So when you make a mistake, little or small, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't go off topic a bit. When you make a mistake, you have to accept it, or a setback or a loss. You accept it and deal with it there and then, however hard it may be. But you deal with it.
Yeah.
And then
it's about being honest and true with yourself and taking responsibility, isn't it? And that's a message we give to kids all the time. We give it to them all the time, and you've nailed it there, really. Now look, boxing's obviously a brutal physical combat sport, but a lot of it's played in the mind, isn't it? Mentally, you've got to be very strong. And if you look at the build up to big fights, there's a lot of trash talking and psycho stuff going on, trying to get one up on your opponent. How did you deal with people who maybe wrote things or said things derogatory or negative about you?
Yeah, well, luckily when I was boxing, there was no social media, thank God. But it's a difficult one. It's difficult. No one likes to be people. You read boxing magazines and no one would pick you to win, and people think you're going to get stopped and knocked out, and and you go, well, that's not very nice. But again, it's about, and you can't just ignore everything. You have to surround yourself with positive people. That's very important. And so you don't put yourself in a bubble, but whatever's said, if you're around positive people, they will say, don't worry about that. So my father was very important. I was lucky. My father was very important in my career, my life, of course, but my career especially, where I would read somewhere where they didn't give me no chance to win a fight, and he would say, but they don't know you. They're just going off what they've seen of him and what they think they've seen of you. They don't know what you're doing. And so you take solace from that. But again, it's all about, if you're prepared, when you're fully fit or you're fully prepared, and you've gone the right path, there's a confidence about you, and there's that borders on arrogance. Whatever. Will he beat me? I can't knock him out. I'm not trying to knock him out. That's what I would go. He won't beat me on points. And I got a good chin, and I'm hard to hit, and all those things. So you just come with all the things you're good at and counteract that, even in your mind. Well, I'm good at this though. So you think you're good at that, but I'm good at this. So you got to do. So I'm going to show you what I can do, and you show me. We'll see who's the best. I wouldn't worry about it. So, and then when people come the weigh-ins and the press conference, when they go head to head, you got to go in already. So you prepare. Preparation is everything, by the way. So you prepare yourself physically, but mentally as well. You have to know. So you have to know. So you will almost train to get knocked down. But you never want to get knocked down. But your trainer would tell you things to do. About squeezing your toes, getting some blood back in your legs, and always looking to the corner straight away. Never getting up too early. These are mental things. Under the line, when you're in the pressure again, and all in the heat of battle and in the fire line, and all the punches are coming at you, and you have to stay calm and focused. And it's the same with the press conferences, when they're shouting at you and they're goading you, or they're sniggering at you and they're laughing at you, and you have to just go have that confidence in yourself and the things that you've gone through in your mind, the preparation in your mind, that you've already gone through this all the press conference will play out. I think that's important. So preparation would be me sometimes in my bedroom pretending I was in a press conference, like ludicrously, like just embarrassingly acting out the press conference that wasn't even there, but it would prepare you. So whatever you say to me, I've said it to myself, pretending I was you to my, do you know what I mean? Like, so I would go through it all already. So then when it did happen, it felt like I'd already been there, so I could cope with it. It wasn't offensive, or not worried, or you're snarling at me. You know, it wasn't that. I was never that, and I was confident. I can't remember I boxed. It shouldn't have happened. I boxed at 16. I went to Scotland to box a 23-year-old man. That would never happen nowadays. It was ludicrous. He had a big hairy chest. He was shorter than me, but he was really stocky. And we got a video. I mean, a VHS video, so I don't know where that's gone now. And they do a close up. We go head to head, and he's like this, and I'm going. I can't stop laughing. It was because I was so confident in my ability, because I was so fit and well prepared, that you doing that meant nothing to me. But because I was prepared. I think preparation is everything, and because that gives you a confidence in yourself that people can't intimidate you. Well, okay, whatever. I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
And as long as you know, if you have little doubts in yourself, if you're not prepared, that's the word really. It should be just, I'm prepared over my head. If you're not prepared, then you'll have doubts in yourself, and then someone else can see that, and they'll intimidate you. It festers, and it's like a disease. It gets inside and it spreads. And then the night before the fight, you're panicking and scrambling for positive thoughts that are not there.
Yeah. Yeah. Great message for young people out there. Be prepared whenever, because you're right. If you start to doubt yourself, that's when people will get to you. You just, again, explained that.
But preparation is not about, preparation is also about, the mental side of it is just important. Physically prepared, but helps you mentally, and they're hand in hand in sport. But it is about being mentally prepared more than physically. The mental side of the game is so important in boxing. It's massively important, because I've seen fighters you get so many fighters in the gym who can't produce it on fight night. I mean, and everyone will tell you that. Like, great fighters will say, some of the kids I've sparred with, and I couldn't touch them. But then come fight night, you watch them, you think they never boxed before. They were useless, you know what I mean? Relatively speaking. Yeah. Because they can't cope with the pressure. And that's what it is. And so I think the mental side is so important. But it's all about preparation. Preparation is, again, for the young kid, is being around positive people, around friendly, safe environments. They're all things that help you, find yourself. I think that's it. Once you're in, and I grew up in a rough area, so when you're in unpredictable situations, then you don't find you'll react in the wrong manner, but you'll mimic the wrong people. You're in the wrong environment, so you'll mimic and look up to the wrong people. That's what happens in life. I was lucky I had an older brother who was good at sport, so I looked up to him. Yeah. But I got other mates whose brothers were not so good at sports, and all they were doing is stupid stuff, and they followed that. They were their role models, and that's so. To put yourself out of that situation and put yourself in a positive situation means that mental preparation then for you when you go through life, because you've seen people do good things, and it's what you see is what you do, especially as a young kid. What you see and what you hear is what you do. It forms you early. So putting yourself in a bad area, a bad situation, around bad people, means you're going to, not always, but you're shortening your odds of doing good stuff, and you're going to do bad stuff. Yeah. And I grew up in an area where a lot of bad stuff happened, because when there's no money around, and boredom is the biggest thing. Boredom is, that's what I would say, boredom is the biggest curse for anyone, man, child, animal, anything. No, it is. You have to keep
You're right. Yeah, lack of ambition, lack of goals, lack of direction.
But the less you do, the less you want to do. The more you do, the more you want to do, and that's pretty much how it is. So I think for kids, not every kid's going to be physically fit now. Every kid's going to be into sports, and I don't mean playing computer games is not being active. That's for some people make a career and a living out of it, but for most don't. So you are doing it, and a release is important, but structuring your life. It's easy to say it now as an adult, but I've experienced it where I had structure in my life from a young age because of sports, and then as a young adult because of sports. But then obviously I retired quite young, so then I had no structure in my life, and I've had to adapt to that, and it's a difficult thing. And so I understand for young kids with no structure, just saying get some structure in your life is easy, but it's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do, and Yeah, but you know, with boxers, you go to your coach, you go to your trainer, you go to your football, and I think that, you know, and the kids didn't think you should go to your teachers, and whether that's a feasible. That's something that, you know, yeah, you need to go and say, listen, I need some structure, and that's what school does for you, or should do for you.
Yeah, indeed it does. Now, you mentioned social media a little while back there, and young people obviously spend a lot of time on social media. It plays a big part of their life, and it can be brutal. So what advice would you give to young people who receive negative or hurtful comments on social media?
I don't know what the word is now, but grass them up, like that, snitch, whatever you call it, because most, like, I've had lots of it, you know, being the job I do. I get some fantastic comments. I get told I'm the best thing since sliced bread, the job I do, which is obviously not true. But I also get told I'm a disgusting animal who shouldn't be alive. I wouldn't believe some of the stuff I couldn't say, some of the stuff that I get, the abuse I get. And it affects you initially. It affects you anyway. No one likes to see anyone say bad about you, especially when they don't know you. But these people are troubled. You know, so, you know, they're troubled, and they got issues of their own, and they're just projecting them onto you because and they probably have the boredom and no structure, what we talked about, and that's why they do it. And so bullies in general are that way, are unhappy people by nature usually. So, and also, you know, you get dragged, again, you've been in a bad situation, you get dragged, other people bully you because the bullies bullied you, and you get dragged into a bad cycle. So being a snitch or a grass or telling tales, it might not sound great, but you're helping that person. You don't think or if you're not helping that person, you're helping the next person, and that person's going to do it too. That's how I look at it. So if someone says some really bad things about me, like, I used to just ignore it, but if I get on Twitter now, someone says some really disgusting things, I just report it to the Twitter people, and whether it gets dealt with or not, I don't know, but because they might do that to someone else who might, you know, not take it so well. You know, like I'm an ugly old man now, so a lot of these things don't affect me, but it can affect you, and it's not very nice. But social media it can be a great tool, but ultimately it's not a great tool. It's not. It's not. I think it's for me, it's the worst thing that's ever been invented. Like, almost, it's really bad. As good as it is for getting, you know, news out there and information and all the rest of it, there's so much things that you don't know. Like, you get all the wrong information. But people listen to me, so I can just tell people about COVID, say that don't exist. You know, like, I just make things up, and some people will believe me because I got 30,000 followers or whatever. I don't know what I got, something like that. And it's ridiculous. It's rubbish. So, you know, it's like, and all it is, it's just people moaning, and it takes up so much of your life. I went off it for 2 years. I had like 100,000 followers, and I went off it for 2-3 years because the first thing I do in the morning is get up and check Twitter. It makes you vain, especially when people say nice things about you, because you want to see, ooh, what's someone saying about me today? And, you know, and that's, you know, I'm not really that sort of person. So yeah, in the end, I said, that's enough. Like, I was going on Twitter before I was saying hello to my children. It can consume your life. So, you know, you have to just, I tell kids, if you can, avoid it, to be honest, and live your life.
Yeah, again, it's like any platform, Barry. It attracts the good and the bad, but it's a real mouthpiece for those who want to cause mischief or trouble. And I think you're right. You know, young people should stick and listen and take advice from the people they respect and they love and they know, and that's it. You mentioned it before. Surround yourself with positive, good people. Let's fast forward to sort of the pinnacle of your career. I think it was December '97 when you defeated the Colombian fighter Palacios to win the WBO Super Featherweight Championship of the world. Now, looking back to when you started in the gym at 9, how did you feel that night to be standing on top of the world? Because you said you goal there, but little steps, you've reached the best fighter in your weight in the world. How did you feel?
Well, it wasn't a goal that I set out when I turned professional, but it was a dream that I had as a child, because, you know, my idol was Sugar Ray Leonard. So as a kid, I would be shadow boxing in my bedroom, pretending I was Sugar Ray Leonard, and, you know, winning world titles left, right, and center. So when someone says, and the new, you know, champion of the world, and your name, it's like, it's your dream. It's like, you know, if you're English and you're a rugby player, that's like playing in Twickenham on an international, you know, losing to Wales or I'm joking. You know,
Again.
okay, for a change recently. But yeah, and you know, or you know, if you're a Man United fan playing in Old Trafford, I boxed in Old Trafford. By the way,
I've got an issue with that. Yes, because I know you've done something that I'd love to do, and that's not fight at Old Trafford, but perform on the pitch at Old Trafford, or you're in a ring.
And I was showering in the changing rooms and all the rest of it. It was great. That was a great experience, actually. Got it, man. That was a real eye opener. It was just unbelievable.
And that was the Ben Eubank.
Ben and Eubank rematch, yeah. So it was like, I didn't get on TV. They did record the fight, but I didn't get on TV. But it was but back then, see, those big bills. So now they have like 20 fights on a bill. So they start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But then back then there was only 5 fights. So I won. I beat an undefeated kid, actually, and so I was the first guy to win in Old Trafford ever. So I sort of tell people Ben and Eubank were on my undercard, but that wasn't the case. But it was a great. For a year, I was like 19 at the time, and I was like 6-0 or something. So it was a great experience. I boxed a kid from Manchester. So like they sent me up to Toulouse, to be honest. That's what happened. But
But that was early 90s. I was going to say you could have got hold of Fergie and said you fancy a new right back, but they had a pretty decent right back then. You might have got the squad though.
Listen, Steve,
you'd have had more chance now.
You do me plenty of credit, Steve, but listen, you see what I like when I get the ball, like the panic on my face, like that when someone gives me the ball. I don't want the ball, do I? Tell him don't give me the ball. I don't want the ball. But
there's a few in red shirts do that at the minute, actually, sometimes.
But it was a great experience, but it really was. It was just mind blowing. But I never said so. Winning a world champion was a dream. So when that's said to you, it's like, you know, it's almost an anticlimax because you can't take it in. It takes like a week to take it all in because you're like, where's all the fireworks? What is this really happening? Like, so you go back to your changing room and everyone's like, you know, Barry, and you know, and luckily my dad was in my corner with my trainer, so he got to experience it as well. And yeah, so it was just getting all my family up. Then I sent a load. It was in London Arena, so there was like coaches went up from Cardiff, and it was and all my friends I grew up with and stuff. It was great, and yeah, it was the funny thing that night. So I go to sleep, and I got my belt, my World Championship belt, and I put it it's on the bottom of my bed, and I've gone to sleep about 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was up all night, and I never drunk, by the way. I still don't drink today, as you know, but you're up all night because all your mates are celebrating, and they took over this hotel, and they ruined the place. And then I woke up in the morning, and I couldn't open my eyes. I just had my foot, and I was checking that the belt was there because I couldn't believe it was real. I just couldn't believe it was real. But then it was. But then 2 days later, I couldn't move. My body seized up. I tried. It wasn't a great fight, and I hurt my shoulder in the second round, like a real bruise on my shoulder, on my collarbone. Sorry. And so I didn't feel like I performed my best, but I tried so hard that I couldn't have done any more really for what I was dealing with. But like 2 days later, my body just seized up.
Yeah,
I didn't warm down, nothing like that, you know, and I could have just been out. And then that was a Friday night. I got back to Cardiff on a Saturday and doing interviews with press, local press. And then it was just before Christmas, so there was a Christmas do in the City Hall, and I got invited to that late notice, so I get to go there. So literally, you don't get time. I didn't have time to decompress, and then I just like my body just stuck like this for about 4 hours. I think, and my dad had to pick me up. My missus had phoned my dad up. She had drive to the house, picked me up, and put me in a warm bath. It was crazy, but it was just like my dream. My dream was done. I never had aspirations. I wanted to be a Joe Calzaghe and take over the world. I just want to be a world champion was more than I ever thought I could do, and to get it I was done then. I was 23 years of age.
Yeah, I know, 23, and ironically, you'd never been knocked over. Never been put on the floor.
No.
23, you're a world champion. Everything's top of the world, and then it all sort of went wrong in a way, based on an MRI scan, which revealed some strange anomaly on your brain scan, and they stopped you fighting, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah, they did. It was horrible news. I was defending my title in Paris, of all places, and then the fight was signed. It was good money as well, especially for me. And I've been over already for a press conference and stuff, and it was just, I was living the dream. This is my dream now, this is, and also when you win a world title, when you're not a huge name, the money's good. I wouldn't lie, the money's good, but it's not life-changing money. But that money becomes, when you defend your title, that money becomes, and it becomes quick. So now I achieve my ambition. My goal now is obviously I want to be more successful because I've set new goals for myself instantly, and that's the way you should, once you get that one goal, you always want to strive to go and be better than what you thought you could be. But obviously my concern now as well is, because I had a young child at the time, is secure my financial future. Yeah. I've got to that level where I'm going to get paid for it at last, because up until that point, my money wasn't that great. I still worked when I was a professional athlete. I still had a job, and that was, and obviously that the thing with the brain scan came up, and they did the right thing initially by withholding my license because they didn't know what it was. But then when I found out what it was, they wouldn't take that for red, and my life just imploded. It was just the worst time of my life. It was just horrible. I was just so sorry for myself. And oops, my chair's coming on here. Sorry. Yeah, I felt just so sorry for myself. I just couldn't believe my bad luck. All of a sudden now, all that good luck of taking that world title fight. I took that world title fight at 3 weeks' notice, by the way. That bit of luck that I had, being fit and ready all the time, worked out for me. And then all of a sudden I got, why would you do this? I was asking, why would this happen to me? What have I done to anyone? Why am I given this? It was like winning the lottery, walking towards the Camelot, the lottery people, opening the door to get, here's my ticket, and then the wind blowing it away, and then I said, there's my ticket there, and they go, well, where is it, mate? I got this. No, you've got no proof. That's what it felt like, winning a lottery and losing my ticket. It was just like, what's going on? I couldn't. It was difficult. I mean, extremely difficult, and I just wanted to put my head in the sand and never come out. That was the truth. I did. I was just absolutely gutted. And then there was billboard, and all those little billboards outside the shops, the little things, little stands, and it was world champion boxer Phil's brain scan, and then all the people in my local people in local pub. When I sell all my tickets, some people go, "Oh, Barry, I'm so sorry," and other people go, "Listen, if there's something wrong with you, it's the right thing." But I knew there was nothing really wrong. But no, once someone says brain scan, and rightly so, people go, "Well, fair enough, you shouldn't box." And that's, of course, that's correct if there's a real problem, but there wasn't, and that was my issue. But yeah, anyway, so it was hard, but you have to accept it. I tried to put my head in the sand, and for about 2-3 weeks, I just didn't want to speak to anyone or get involved, and I went away on holiday, which wasn't a holiday, it was just an escape, and then I had to pull myself out of it. I don't know how I did. My father was going, "Come home, deal with it." Luckily, I had someone there to help me, but inevitably.
Yeah, I was just going to say, did you turn to friends and family there at that point?
Yeah, my dad was like, I remember, like, he's dealing with the same thing, because until you've got kids, you know how heartbreaking it is to see a kid in any sort of distress. But and he loved boxing, so I won the world title. We won the world title because he's in my corner. He helped train me all throughout my life, and it was ours. Even though I'm fighting, it's ours. You know what I mean? It's like, actually, my world title belt is in my dad's house. I got a new one in this house that I take around to show people, but like the actual one I actually won is stuck in my dad's house. That's his. Yeah, he can sell it. He never will, but that belongs to him, for all he did for me. But it was important. But he's dealing with stuff because he's heartbroken that his son's in so much pain, emotional pain, and also his ambition of what he wanted his son to be this great fighter. And so it was a hard thing. But he said, "Barry, come and deal with it," and that was it. And I did in the end. But he pretty much, my father's very much, "I'll give you this advice. You got to deal with yourself. I can't pull you out of this depression." I don't want to say depression because I don't want to. Depression is a real serious thing. But I felt extremely sorry for myself. But he said, "I can't do it. You got to do it yourself." And yeah. But the boxing and all that preparation in the past of things I've had to do for fights helped me. At some point, one day I woke up and I was really disappointed. And am I going to get out of this? Am I going to, and I was just like, bang, no. And I think that's sometimes you have to do that sometimes. It's just a case of, to make a decision, it's got to be, you have to have a thought process and evaluate as much as you can. But you can just dwell on it and evaluate for the rest of your life and never make a decision. deciding on making a decision. You just sort of go, bam, disco at some point after doing your due diligence of getting all the information. And I did, and I went to see a brain surgeon, and he to see if I was okay. First of all, forget about the boxing, and he told me I was fine, and then we went off from there. And I got my license back. It took almost 2 years, but again, I persevered. I did. I like again. I wasn't the most. That wasn't my forte of intelligence and knowledge about brain scans, but my perseverance in trying to find out and seeking the advice of medical professionals, people who know about this stuff, and we got through it.
Yeah, and that perseverance theme is running through, along with being honest with yourself and taking responsibility, which you've talked about. You've said at some point I had to take responsibility, and I think another great message for young people: always go and seek support from friends and family, but at some point you've got to take it yourself and run with it. And of course, you came back, didn't you? And you talked about your one defeat that you were more proud of than anything else. And I watched that fight fairly recently with Brazilian, was it Freitas, the Brazilian?
Yeah.
And I have to say, Barry, my first thoughts when I saw it was, he looks big. He looks big for a super featherweight. He looked a lot bigger than you.
He was. There was two reasons for that. He was big. I mean, like the day before you weigh in the day before the fight, and the day before the fight, he looked spent. He was so dehydrated. It was dangerous. Like they wouldn't allow it nowadays. He was so struggling to make the weight. He was huge. But then he's got not 24. He's got like 36 hours to rehydrate. So I see him at the weigh-in, and he's literally like this. Could barely get on the scales, and barely made the weight. I still don't think he actually generally made it, but anyway. But then that was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Come 9, 10 o'clock at night when we're fighting live on Sky, he took his top off and he went boom, 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 boom. And he got shoulders out here and muscles and his back. And me and my dad are in the corner laughing, going, look at him. That's not the kid fellow I seen yesterday. That's someone else. And I was looking behind him. See, where's the kid I'm fighting? The skinny kid. And I also wasn't. That wasn't my weight. Ironically, I was a super bantamweight really, which is 2 weights below super featherweight. But I got an opportunity to box for the super featherweight title before the world title, and I took it and I won it, and I got stuck there. That's not an excuse, because I had an advantage that I didn't have to dehydrate to make the weight. So my little gimmick at championship level was going into the weigh-in, eating a Mars bar, and used to drive people mad, because they're all like they haven't eaten properly really for a week or so, and I'm like eating a Mars bar at the weigh-in the day before the fight, jumping on the scales 2 pounds lighter than I should be. But then obviously they had the advantage then the next day when they're all rehydrated and much bigger, and I'm still the same size. But he was too big for me, and more than that, though, like I'd like to make an excuse. I had one fight in 2 years. I never sparred because I was paranoid with the brain scan stuff, and I was too small for the weight. But I know in my heart that he was too good for me, and I'm fine with that. He was too good. And I remember saying before the fight, he's not going to outbox me. That's what I'm good. That's what I do. He was 24-0, 24 knockouts at the time. Freitas, one of the biggest punches pound for pound in the world. And my video I had of him to show for preparation was him just was a show reel of him knocking people out. And the last guy he beat was to win the world title, to win my old world title. He won the world title I never lost in the ring. And I was trying to reclaim it, of course, against him. But the guy he won the world title to the fight before, was Anatoly Alexandrov, who was a really good Russian boxer. He knocked him out in 2 minutes, and Alexandrov was out cold for 5. Like, that's dangerous. But the video I got of him is knocking out a really good fight that might be better than me, actually, knocking him out cold. And there you go, Barry, study this. So that's not great for your mental health. You're thinking, I got to come up against that. But then I'm really watching. So I'm like, well, that's not fair. Well, I can't hide away and make it I didn't see it, because I'm going to see it on fight night. So let's see it first, and let's prepare myself. And I watched him, and we watched this, and we noticed that when he throws the right hand, he sometimes brings that right foot forward because he's so powerful. He commits himself, and that's obviously that. And that was early in the fight. That little thing that I'd seen, the mistake he made, was when I threw a real fast left hook and I dropped him.
Yeah, you actually knocked him over.
I did, yeah, which was a sort of mistake, and it got him angry. But But I said, I don't box him. I said, when he hits me, the first big punch he hits me with is that we'll know. Because if I'm still on my feet, he can't beat me. I've never been on the floor in my life, amateur, pro, sparring, never been on the floor. I could take a good shot. But if he hits me with a good shot and I'm on the floor, then chances are, it's going to go his way. And that's what happened. He hit me with a great shot with the right hand. Never been on the floor my entire life, and he dropped me. But I did the right thing. I didn't jump up. I wasn't hurt. It was so clean a shot. They didn't hurt me. Just not. So I just thought, I'm on the floor. What happened there? And I took the knee, and I took the 8 count, and I got up. And then he hit me with a body shot with the left hook, and I popped my rib out the cartilage. And I still get trouble. Now, you see when I play football, I wear this I wear this top that I with all padding on. Because if I get whacked in the ribs there, I'll fall over. And so maybe, it was really bad. And I went 8 rounds with that damage. But that was pain and that was hard. And I, again, the mental side of the game got me through that, because he knocked me down twice in the first, once in the second, once in the third. I won the 4th and the 5th rounds because he didn't knock me down. But he probably took a breather because he went all out to finish me because I was done. Okay, most people would be finished. And then I was winning the 6th and he knocked me down right at the end of the round. And then I was then in the 8th round, he threw the towel in, and that was the end of it. But I was proud because I went down 6 times, which is quite embarrassing. 6 times in 8 rounds is a bit embarrassing for any level of a fighter to get knocked down. But I got up 6 times. And I thought when I was doing stuff in schools, I would tell kids that. I said, I won the world title because I was better than the kid who beat in front of me. That's why. So even though it was hard, physically hard, I was better than him, and I knew I was better than him very early in the fight. So I just had to do what I did, and it would be enough. In that fight, I was up against a guy who was better than me in every department. Faster hands, better boxing brain, certainly more power, naturally bigger, more prepared because he had more fights because I'd been inactive. But I tried. I mean, I tried like you couldn't try anymore. And my father threw the towel in, probably too late, but he knew I was done. He knew I was done. I had nothing. I was on the ropes and I could hear him calling. I'm throwing the towel in. I'm throwing the towel in. And if I had any fight left in him, I would have fought back, and I never. So I was happy. I was gutted at the time. I was devastated. I was crying my eyes out. But I went down 6 times. I got up 6 times, and that defined me as not as a boxer, but as a man, as a person. And it's a message for kids that you get knocked down, you get setbacks, but so get up and move on. And you might get knocked down again and get up and move on. And then you might get knocked down again. And it can keep going on. You've got to keep getting that boom, 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 boom. Because life is not easy. That's the truth. There's easy parts of it in life. And it can be so, even when it's hard, it can be enjoyable. That's the thing that people forget. It can be enjoyable when it's hard. But if every time you get knocked back, you turn around and go the other way, this is not physical. This is a mental thing. Not the pain wasn't the issue. Pain's pain. So like when you're in a fight, with the adrenaline, you don't really feel the pain. But the mental side of just thinking, I can't win. I knew I couldn't win, but I had to keep trying to find a way to win because you never know. He might break. What if he breaks? Some of the best fights in history, like Nigel Ben versus General Mckellen. You can't see that fight now because General Mckellen was injured after that fight. But General Mckellen was a massive puncher, and the mental fortitude of Ben, who got knocked down early in the first round, was really hurt, was all over the place, and he just keep persevering, and then won the fight. And he won the fight in a fight that he had no chance of winning. It was unbelievable. But it was the mental side of the game, just thinking, you're not gonna beat me, or if you are, it won't be without a try. It won't be without a fight. I will keep trying. And you got to say that about life and everything in general. You got to go. You might be tougher than me. You might be harder than me. You might be smarter than me, clever than me, better looking, whatever it is. But I'm here. Like I play football. I can't kick a ball. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am on the pitch. You all got to tell me where to go half the time. But I'm a nuisance. And I think that's what you have to be in life. Be a nuisance. Not in a bad way. I mean, but always be there for the opportunity. I think that's the thing. And that's what I was in that fight. If I stay down on the floor, I have no chance of winning because I've sat down on the count. If I get up, I'm probably not going to win, but I'm in it to win it. Until I'm not, you're always in it to win it. And life's like that. Until you're there, until you give up and walk away and just sit around and go, I don't want to know anymore. As long as you keep turning up, showing your face, being present, you're always in with a chance, whatever it may be.
Yeah, totally agree. We always tell children not to stand still, because not only will the people in front of you move away from you, but those behind you will trample you as they come over the top. So you're right. You just got to keep moving. Now, obviously, you have continued to move. You built a very successful second career, if you like, on TV as a pundit, a boxing pundit with Box Nation, ESPN, and BT Sport. So you obviously have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. I mean, I know you love talking, but and it was still within boxing, so it's very much your expertise, but it's a very different role going on TV and talking and analysing. So do you have any advice for young people when they step out of their comfort zone and try something new?
Yeah, I do. I think once you get used to doing that mindset of being there, just going for it, taking a risk, don't be afraid to fail. I think that's what it is. I'm not a shy, but once I start talking, I don't shut up. But I'm not, I'm not down to change you, but quite often I don't say a word. So I don't speak to you until you speak to me. I'm very private. I'm quite a private person. I don't have lots of friends. I'm just the way I am. So being on TV has never been a thing that I wanted to be. I didn't want to be famous, never did. And I'm not famous now, but I didn't want to being on TV. That never appealed to me. So I do more work for Sky than BT now, but I work alongside David Hay. Now he's a superstar. Yeah. I see his life as much as I'd want his money, and I want to look like him as well, to be fair. But as much I wouldn't want his life. He can't walk anywhere without people coming up to him and stuff. It wasn't for me. But it was I love boxing. I thought I'll have a go, and I just had a go, and I wasn't very good the first time. I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't very good because I was there. And I said, if you need me again, and that's what I said, and they used me again. Box Nation was a small channel, so I just think don't be afraid to try. It might not be for you, and that's fine. Go somewhere else. I did the day on the bins once, doing a binman. I did, but I had no work. I did the day on the bins one, like years and years ago. It wasn't for me. I just didn't like it. I didn't do it again. I was an apprentice electrician. I liked that job. I should have carried on with that. I loved that job. So I've tried lots of things. I've done lots of things. I've driven a lorry for TNT. I didn't like that either. But I tried it for a couple of months, and it's not for me, So, but I wasn't afraid to try it because I could have been a perfect job, and that could have been a perfect job. I was working in schools. I loved that for a long time, and so I loved that job. And then TV's work came, and I sacked all the kids. I got rid of all the kids and went on TV instead. Like you will now, Steve, sure. But don't be afraid to try. And if it's not for you, then you can just go. It's all about being in it to win it. I think that's very important. You've got to be. If you don't try, you never know. And it's that saying, but it's true. Regret the things you did, not the things you didn't. And it's easy to say all these little cliches, but it is quite true. That is. You have a go. You might regret. Oh, I shouldn't have done that because I was like, I embarrassed myself. But embarrassment is your ego. That's all that is. It's your ego saying, "Oh, people are laughing." It stops in a minute. I've said some horrendous things on telly. Like I've got scorecards really bad. I've had a really bad night and I've known it. And you dread waking up in the morning because of Twitter, and you get loads of abuse. But then there's a fight next week and they forget about it. Or the next week you hit it. You do a great job and everyone loves it. And that's what it is. And so you have to just move on. But you've got just have a go. And it's I've taken that same, not the same, because I'm always out of my comfort zone. And because boxing was my comfort zone, the only thing I've ever known, which is such a blessing and a curse, because I knew what I wanted to be from 14. Really, I knew what I wanted to do in my life, but also I didn't diversify anything else to be anything else. So the fact that once the boxing was finished at an early age, it was hard to adjust. So I always feel a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I'm always quite nervous about doing anything new. But I do it. Yeah. If one thing my father's told me, just do it. Who cares? Only you care. No one cares. People forget about you in 2 minutes if it's no good. And if it's good, he was good. So life moves on. So it doesn't matter. You can go in another direction and you've had a go. But as long as you've had a go, and I'd say that to every kid, just have a go. You don't know what. Unless you're lucky to know what you want, you don't know what's out there until you take that step forward, and things that will inspire you, things that you know what your passion is as a young age until you see it, so you feel it, so you've been in it, so you've had a go at it, and you might think you want to be a football player all your life, then all of a sudden you start doing painting, and then you know what you want to be for the rest of your life, or you want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. I wanted to be a PE teacher. I was never going to work, but I academically I'm really bad. But that's what I wanted to be, and I didn't pursue that. And I don't regret it. I regret it sometimes. I don't regret it because I had a successful career as a boxer. But I mean, you look back, you go, oh, maybe if I would have been any good, maybe I wouldn't, or maybe I wouldn't have been. Not now because kids are all 6'4" and I'm 5'6". They'd be putting me in their pocket and carrying me around school with them. But
no, it doesn't matter that. Look, we're sort of coming to the end, I guess, of our time. A couple of final questions. I don't know a lot about boxing. I don't really watch a lot of boxing, to be honest. But I did watch your pre-fight analysis of Fury and Wilder, which I found fascinating. And obviously, everyone's talking about potentially Fury and AJ getting in a ring at some point. What's your sort of take on that one? Who do you think is going to win that?
I think I'm with the majority in Fury. I fancy Fury, but it's not a given. It's a hard fight. Now, Joshua's underrated. I think people just go on his loss or the fact that he's quite rigid, but he's actually a better boxer than what people really think when you really assess him. And also, he punches right on the line, which someone who drops their hands and will cause problems for Fury. But I think Fury's much more the adaptable fighter. And I think you have to favour him. I think so much that he can... Fury's strength up until the Wilder fight is he negates your work. That's what he negates your work, frustrates you, and you make a mistake, and he just pops, and he'll punch you and pops you around and fills you around and make, like he did with Klitschko. It wasn't a great fight to watch, but it was actually a very clever performance from him. But against Wilder, he stepped right on he stepped right to the guy who could punch, and totally put the script on his head and bullied him, and I fought him and broke his spirit and stopped him. So he can change his style to suit. And I think that's what gives him a massive edge. It really does. It gives him a huge edge. Because if that don't work, he got plan B, C, and D. Where Joshua's not going to outbox Fury, to be honest. He has to hurt him and hurt him early. So he has to take more of a risk. And with taking that risk is obviously leaving yourself exposed for counters and stuff like that. So, yeah. If it happens.
I was going to say, I don't know where we are with COVID. Is that scheduled for this year, or they're not sure?
Well, it's not. Well, they keep saying the contracts are signed. So I don't know. With boxing, especially when with that sort of money, you're talking, hundreds of millions of pounds, until they're on their press tour, until they're in the ring, even. But until they're on their press tour, that fight's not happening until that happens. So they're on about June, July, possibly, but it would be signed now and announced by now. I would have thought. Because for that sort of fight, with mega money, we'll see. But with COVID, doesn't matter because they'll go to Saudi Arabia and they'll pay a site fee of 150 million just to host it. Yeah, I should come back. I weigh like a heavyweight now. Anyway,
a lot of them come back. Mike Tyson came back recently, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He must be older than us. He must be older than us.
He is, but he still looks fearsome, doesn't he?
Yeah. I hope he's not watching. Listen, finally, do you have a final piece of advice for young people in how to maintain a positive mental health and well-being?
Stay busy. I think I said it earlier on about boredom and just not doing stuff. It's the worst. Boredom's the worst. Being idle is terrible. So yeah, try and get some structure to your life. And it's as much as you think you don't want it, it's so important. I don't mean have a proper schedule, but to keep busy all the time. Because the busier you are, the more active you are with your mind, the more you use your mind, the happier you are. I don't mean you have to go doing schoolwork all the time and study, but doing stuff. So so limit your time of your watching TV. Limit your time. Do it to yourself. Imagine that you don't have to turn the telly off, whatever your name is. You do that, and I'm out doing something else. So that's why sport's good for people who are into sports. If you're not into sports, you find something else. Music is great. I was in the Salcombe Morgan Choir, by the way, as a kid. I don't tell a lot of people that.
Yeah, but all Welsh can sing, can't you? You can all sing.
Well, I can't sing, actually. I just have a really high voice. But I love that. And that as well, my poor parents, whatever. That was a Monday. I had to catch the bus into the city centre and do the choir practice like for about 2 months. But it was something to do, and it kept me stimulated.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, is just finding things to do all the time, keep you busy, and your parents will be happy, and you'll be happy. And you don't think you will because you haven't got no time to sit down and do your stuff, but you'll be happy for it. So I think it's keeping yourself occupied all the time, and with that, you will find other avenues to things that you might find inspire you to go on to do some stuff. And that's what it is. The worst thing in the world is a wasted life. The worst thing as well is a wasted life. I've had mates who've died, been stabbed, one's been shot. But it's to see a wasted life. It's hard, and to see a life taken early is horrible. But to see someone waste their life, my brother, he's a paint and decorator. He wasted his natural born talent, what he had, what he could have done. He might be fine with that. But I'm not. I'm sad for him because he could have been so much more. And he might not have won, but he would have experienced more stuff and seen more stuff. It's not about being the winner, being the best. It's not always about that. I've seen the world because of boxing, regardless of how good I am or how bad I am. I've seen the world, and I've seen things, and I've met people, and I've been places. I've been to Las Vegas 4 times in 3 years. I get paid to do it. Imagine that. You know what I mean? All because I persevered. That's it. I can't say no other word. All because I persevered and I had to go, and I wasn't afraid to take a chance. That was all. Not because I was talented. That was it.
Well, that message has come through all the way, Barry. So I hope that anyone who's watching will stick in and persevere and carry on. Look, listen, mate. Thank you so much for being so open and honest and entertaining today. We really appreciate you giving up your time to support what we do and what we're trying to do at Bee-lieve Foundation to help young people. Hopefully, I'll see you soon.
Yes,
I'll find out if I can actually still pass the ball to you. I'll try. Not sure about running around, but I might be able to pass it.
I thought we had a deal because you're pretty good with the ball at your feet. So I'll do the running for you, and you don't pass the ball to me, please.
Right, that sounds good. We better let EP know that we've got a partnership here. Listen, mate, you look after yourself. Thanks for joining us. To all our friends out there, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the March edition of Brew with Bee-lieve, featuring the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones. For now, it's goodbye from me. We'll see you all next month. Stay safe, stay positive, and be happy. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.